Coming to you from the Sinker Guy Garage today, we did a quick interview with Noel Kuhn. He had shared some stuff in the past with a lot of people about making a saltwater brine into a solution. We've got this interview with him. We're going to do a little demonstration on how to make this saltwater brine for you to preserve your baits. But go ahead and hit subscribe, hit follow, give us a like. Watch Noel's interview and you guys will learn a lot, and we'll demonstrate how to make it and how we make it so it can be best used for you. Keep watching.
Hey, this is Noel. I'm here to tell you about a tip that I learned 15 years ago back in 2015. And it's salting your bait in highly salinic water, which means water that has so much salt in it, it won't freeze. And once I started using this process, I could make bait last for 6 months, 8 months, pull it out of the freezer. But the basic of it is you take a bottle of salt water, take it home, put it in the kettle, then take sea salt, get the water boiling, and start pouring the sea salt in there and stirring it. And you want to keep this going until the salt will no longer process. The last batch I did was about 1.5 quart bottle. It took about 1.5 pounds, maybe 2 pounds of sea salt. Hard boil, keep stirring, and eventually the salt will no longer dissolve. And you'll see this little tornado of salt in the bottom that won't disappear. Turn it off, put it to the side. When it cools, something very strange happens. Some of the salt re-solidifies, it rises to the top like an ice skating rink, and the other salt falls to the bottom and re-solidifies. So when you're done with that, when it cools, you scrape off the top, you dig out the bottom, and you're left with water. You pour that into a big jar, you put it in your freezer, and at 0 degrees, it won't freeze. So that's the prep work. So when I get home with extra bait, I've got little juice bottles. They're probably 6 or 8 ounces. The little bottles can hold about 40 or 50 sand fleas. Put them in there. Take the 0 degree water out, pour them in there, shake them a little bit, get the bubbles out, put a little more water in there until it's completely full of water, tighten down the cap, and throw it in the freezer. If you've done everything right, the water will not freeze. You can take sand fleas out of the freezer 6 months later, take them out, they still smell like sand fleas, the eggs are still orange and the shells are still hard, and you've got great bait. So a little bit of prep work, but on those days you can't find fleas, you're the guy catching fish because you've got them right out of your freezer.
All right, what Noel was talking about is how he set up the brine. What we do is what you're going to need is you're going to need to have salt water, which I collected from the beach from my last trip. A wide open, this is an M&M container, something you can get your hand in for later on. So we used to have small ones, and what happened, you have to empty out the salt water, which makes the rest of the bait go bad. So we want something that you can actually get your hand in. There's a nice container. It's got a lid, it snaps, it's solid. Kelly Metter's got this for me, which is awesome. I haven't used it yet. This is what he uses. Dad and I, when we started, we used this glass one because we wanted to have a little bit more, but the lid took a beating, and if it falls over, it leaks, and you don't want your to lose all your salt water. So, and then we're going to need about 5 pounds of salt per gallon, roughly in that area. All depends on the salinity of the water. So we've got the heater going. A lot of people, you can just do this in your house. I'm out here. We got our hop, and we're gonna just start to mix in all this salt now. And you can tell there's some sand in there. We had ghost shrimp in that container when we fished, so there might be some flavors of ghost shrimp in there. So we're just opening all these up. We're gonna make sure, and remember, as my mom used to tell me, if you ever spill any salt, throw a little over your left shoulder. So here we go. We're just gonna start working this in. Stir it. I know this water, I tasted the salinity, so I know it's not great. So quite boiling yet. If you look at it, you can see the water has changed colors from a clear to a white. The salt just hasn't dissolved yet enough. Put your knives up if you a little safer. So when you look at this, what you're going to do is when you look down into the bowl itself, you can see the white salt just sitting down right in the middle of the lowest point, and you can feel it. Obviously, this is a lot more than a lot of people will need, but I'm trying to make this for 5 or 6 different applications. So we're going to be making this for our shrimp, our regular shrimp. A lot of people didn't know that you could do this. We're going to show you a little way that you can preserve all your shrimp instead of losing have a bunch of loss every day. How you can do clams this way. We have not done crab knuckles yet, but that's going to be on the next part of this to see if we can get them to work correctly. We've been working on the biggest one right now is ghost shrimp. Everybody knows about ghost shrimp, but you can't really keep them alive. So if you harvest too many, you just waste them. So we're gonna try to teach you a little way with this brine. If you keep watching, you'll be able to see how you can keep your ghost shrimp and use them many times after and make it worthwhile for you to harvest ghost shrimp, but also not just to lose them to waste and just kill them and then throw them away. So now if you come look, you can see the salt starting to dissolve here. So the salt, you can still see it a little bit down there. We don't have enough, so we're going to pour some more in there. It's not salty enough yet, so we're just going to pour it in. Starting to boil. We're pretty close to boiling. It's pretty hot right here, starting to sweat a little bit, which is good. It's that Florida summer. It's starting to get here. So we're just going to get this all the way down so the salinity's perfect, so it doesn't, when we put it in the freezer, like Noel said, it doesn't freeze. We've got another tactic. Noel came up with this 15 years ago, him and Jeff Rafter, and you know, this has been a big saving point for when Dad comes into town, and we can buy 10 pounds of shrimp, cut them up, and we can put them in this brine, and we can actually use it for the whole time from October to November and late December. He'll have his shrimp. We'll put it in the freezer. We'll pull it out. 10 pounds already cut up, and it's perfect every time we went to the beach. So you can harvest your shrimp and put them, and if your wife lets you put them in the freezer. You might have to have an extra bait freezer, so if it ever tips over. But I would just tell you, it will save money over time. It'll just a better resource for us to use our natural resources in the environment. So that's the real big thing. Is I'm allergic to shrimp, so I don't use it all the time. So when Dad comes into town, we have it, and we're going to show how that process here on the next episode of preservation of our baits. So this will help you guys save money and time if you follow. A lot of people won't watch this video, and a lot of people won't take advantage of this, but we're sharing it because it helps us save money when we were and not just waste bait. So I wish I'd have known about this when Noel knew about it. I'll just tell you that. So now if you look here, once again, we're about done. We've got a little bit of salt in the bottom there. So we're about there, but we just need it to boil. So we'll get this all done. And once this all comes out, what we'll do is we'll let it cool. We'll then put it back into our storage container, and then we'll start to use the different, preserve our different baits, and that'll come at a separate time in our next episode of preservation baits #1, which will be regular shrimp right here out of the St. Johns River. So as Noel was saying, it's going to create a hard shell on the top when it cools, and you can kind of see that salt's just sitting on the top there. And you'll just get rid of that. That'll just be waste. But when it gets real cold, and then there's some on the bottom too, but it's not cold enough yet. But that'll happen, and what we'll do is we'll take that all off, We'll pour it back in our container so we have it. Then you'll be ready to salt, brine anything that you have or want in the future. Just make sure you're using the uniodized salt. Kosher salt, you can use kosher salt, salt. You don't have to use sea salt or anything like that, just salt, and it works perfectly. And we're gonna get into the next episode, which is salting regular shrimp with the brine. You can regularly salt it, or you can brine it. So this is a method that has not been explained yet, but we're gonna show you so then you can preserve all your baits.